In American homes right now, there's a silent energy battle happening in the living room, not in your refrigerator, not in your air conditioner, but in your TV. Every night, millions of Americans sit down, grab the remote, and fire up Netflix, YouTube, or live sports on massive 55, 65, even 85-inch screens. But here's the question almost nobody asks. Which TV technology is secretly draining the most electricity? Is it OLED, the premium display everyone raves about, QLED, the bright, colorful option dominating store shelves, or the newer contender, Mini LED, quietly becoming the next big thing? And the answer might surprise you, because the TV that looks the most futuristic isn't always the one that saves you money on your electricity bill. In the United States, where energy costs are rising and screen sizes keep getting bigger, choosing the wrong TV could mean paying significantly more every year without even realizing it. So today, we're breaking down the real electricity usage behind Mini LED, OLED, and QLED TVs. Which one is actually the most energy efficient? Which one wastes power? And which one should Americans buy if they want the best picture without the hidden energy cost? By the end of this video, you might look at your TV very differently, because the display technology wars aren't just about picture quality anymore, they're about power, and that matters now more than ever. Across the United States, TVs are getting bigger, brighter, and more advanced. Walk into any electronics store today and you'll see walls of massive displays pushing insane brightness levels and ultra-sharp resolution. What used to be a luxury 50-inch TV is now considered small. 65 inches is becoming the new standard. 75 inches is common. And 85-inch TVs are rapidly entering everyday homes. But bigger screens mean something else too: more electricity. In the US, televisions already account for a noticeable portion of household electricity usage. According to energy studies, the average American home spends hundreds of hours per year with the TV on. Add streaming devices, gaming consoles, and sports marathons, and that number climbs quickly. Now multiply that by more than 120 million households. Suddenly, TV energy consumption becomes a national scale issue, and manufacturers know it. That's why companies like Samsung, LG, Sony, and TCL are aggressively pushing new display technologies that promise better brightness, better contrast, and sometimes better efficiency. But here's the twist. Not all new technologies actually use less power. Some of them look amazing on the showroom floor, while quietly consuming more electricity behind the scenes. And this is where the battle between OLED, QLED, and Mini LED becomes incredibly interesting, because each one handles light and electricity in completely different ways. To understand which TV uses the least electricity, we need to understand how these displays actually work. Let's start with OLED. OLED stands for Organic Light Emitting Diode, and the key word here is emitting. Unlike traditional TVs, OLED screens don't use a separate backlight. Instead, every single pixel produces its own light. That means when a pixel needs to show black, it simply turns off, completely off. No light, no electricity. This is why OLED TVs are famous for their perfect blacks and incredible contrast. When you watch a dark scene, like space in a sci-fi movie or nighttime scenes in a thriller, many pixels are literally using zero power. But here's the catch. When an OLED screen shows bright images, especially full-screen white scenes, every pixel has to light up. And when millions of pixels are glowing at once, power consumption jumps dramatically. Now let's look at QLED. Despite the name sounding futuristic, QLED TVs are actually a type of LCD television. Instead of self-lighting pixels, QLED TVs use a large backlight panel behind the screen. This backlight shines through layers of filters and quantum dots to create color and brightness. Quantum dots improve color accuracy and brightness, which is why QLED TVs often look extremely vibrant in stores. But the backlight is always on, even when parts of the image are dark. So unlike OLED, where black pixels use almost no power, QLED TVs keep consuming electricity even during dark scenes. Now comes Mini LED. Mini LED is essentially an upgraded version of the QLED backlight system. Instead of using a few hundred large LEDs behind the panel, Mini LED TVs use thousands of tiny LEDs. This allows the screen to dim specific areas more precisely, improving contrast and reducing wasted light. Think of it as turning one giant flashlight into thousands of tiny flashlights that can turn on and off independently. This makes mini LED TVs dramatically better than traditional QLED when it comes to controlling brightness. But they still rely on a backlight, which means electricity is always flowing somewhere behind the screen. So the big question becomes, which system actually uses less power in real homes? And the answer isn't as simple as you might think. This is where things get interesting, because TV electricity usage doesn't behave the same way all the time. It changes depending on what you're watching. Let's imagine two different scenarios. First scenario, watching a dark movie. Think about shows like crime dramas, horror films, or space movies. Large portions of the screen are dark or black. In this situation, OLED has a huge advantage. Since black pixels shut off completely, the screen may be using significantly less electricity than an LED-based TV. Mini LED and QLED TVs still have backlights running behind the panel, even when the image is dark. That means they continue consuming power. Now let's flip the situation. Imagine watching a bright sports broadcast, like an NFL game on a sunny afternoon. The field is bright green, the stadium lights are blazing, graphics are glowing. In this case, OLED pixels are working extremely hard because almost every pixel is lit up, and that's when OLED power usage climbs. Meanwhile, mini LED and QLED TVs rely on their backlights, which are already running anyway. So the difference in electricity usage can become much smaller. But here's something many Americans don't realize. Brightness settings dramatically change power consumption. TVs in retail stores are usually set to maximum brightness to look impressive under harsh lighting. At home, most people turn brightness down significantly. When brightness drops, mini LED and QLED TVs can reduce backlight intensity and save power. However, OLED brightness directly affects how hard each pixel works, so reducing brightness also reduces energy usage. But this leads to another major factor that influences electricity consumption in the US screen size. And this is where the numbers start getting serious. A small 43-inch TV uses relatively little power regardless of technology. But today's popular 65-inch and 75-inch models are much larger energy consumers. As screens grow, the number of pixels and backlights increases dramatically. An 85-inch mini LED TV with thousands of backlight zones can consume significantly more electricity than a smaller OLED display. But this is the part nobody talks about. Energy efficiency labels don't always tell the whole story. Manufacturers often test TVs under specific conditions that may not match real-world usage. For example, energy ratings might assume moderate brightness levels and mixed content. But if someone in the US watches a lot of bright sports broadcasts or leaves their TV running for hours every day, real power usage can be much higher. Gaming also plays a role. Modern gaming consoles push TVs to high brightness and high refresh rates. This can increase energy consumption for any display type. And with millions of Americans gaming on large 4K TVs, this becomes another hidden energy factor. Now let's talk about what many viewers are actually wondering. Which TV type is the most efficient overall? Across many real-world tests, OLED TVs tend to be very efficient during mixed content viewing, especially movies and shows with darker scenes. Mini LED TVs can also be surprisingly efficient because local dimming allows many backlights to reduce brightness when not needed. Traditional QLED TVs without advanced dimming usually consume slightly more power because their backlight runs more consistently. But the difference is rarely extreme. For most American households, the yearly electricity cost difference between these technologies might be around $10 to $20, not hundreds. And that's where the real decision becomes more complicated. Because electricity usage is only one piece of the puzzle, let's talk about the advantages and drawbacks of each technology. OLED TVs deliver some of the best picture quality ever created. Perfect blacks, incredible contrast, wide viewing angles. They are especially loved by movie fans and people who watch a lot of content in dim rooms. But OLED panels can struggle to reach the extreme brightness levels of mini LED TVs, which matters in bright living rooms. Mini LED TVs shine when it comes to brightness and HDR performance. They can produce stunning highlights and remain visible, even in rooms filled with sunlight. This makes them excellent for sports and daytime viewing. They also avoid certain long-term risks associated with OLED, like image retention. Traditional QLED TVs sit somewhere in the middle. They're usually more affordable, extremely bright, and widely available, but they typically lack the precision contrast control of OLED or Mini LED. Public opinion about these technologies can be surprisingly divided. Some viewers swear OLED is the ultimate display. Others argue Mini LED delivers similar quality with better brightness and durability. And there's an ongoing debate about whether OLED's power behavior during bright scenes offsets its efficiency during dark scenes. But the truth is, for most American viewers, the electricity difference between these technologies is relatively small compared to other factors: picture quality, room lighting, TV size, and how many hours the TV runs every day. Still, technology is evolving quickly. Looking toward the future, the display industry is racing toward even more advanced technologies. Micro LED is often described as the ultimate display. It combines self-emitting pixels like OLED with extremely high brightness and long lifespan. But today, micro LED TVs cost tens of thousands of dollars and remain out of reach for most households. Meanwhile, OLED technology is improving rapidly with brighter panels and better efficiency. Mini LED backlights are becoming even more precise, using tens of thousands of tiny LEDs. And new energy standards in the United States are pushing manufacturers to reduce power consumption across all electronics. By the end of this decade, TVs may deliver even larger screens with significantly better efficiency, which means the TV you buy today could look very different from the TVs dominating living rooms in 2030. So what should Americans actually do right now? If you're a student or someone on a tight budget, focus on overall value. A reasonably sized TV with moderate brightness settings will keep electricity costs low regardless of technology. If you're a professional upgrading your home entertainment setup, consider how you actually watch TV. Movie lovers often benefit most from OLED's contrast and power behavior during darker scenes. Bright living rooms or sports fans may prefer the brightness of Mini LED. And if you run a business, like a sports bar or waiting room with TVs running all day, energy efficiency and durability might favor LED-based displays. But for everyday consumers, the simplest way to reduce TV electricity usage is surprisingly simple. Lower brightness slightly, enable energy-saving modes, and avoid leaving the TV running when nobody's watching, because even the most efficient TV still uses electricity when it's on. So here's the big takeaway. Mini LED, OLED, and QLED are all incredible display technologies. Each one has strengths, each one has trade-offs. But when it comes to electricity usage, the differences are smaller than many people expect. What matters more is how you use the TV, how bright it runs, and how large the screen is. The real power decision isn't just about the technology inside the screen, it's about the choices we make with the remote. And as TVs continue getting bigger and more advanced, that choice will only matter more. If you enjoyed this deep dive into the hidden world of TV technology, make sure to subscribe to Tech Vibes for more breakdowns on the tech shaping our everyday lives. And I'm curious to hear from you. What TV are you using right now? OLED, Mini LED, QLED? And have you ever actually thought about how much electricity your TV consumes? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, because the future of home entertainment isn't just about better picture. It's about smarter technology and smarter viewers. I'll see you in the next Tech Vibes video.